Hi there, welcome to Crafting with Kerry. So today what we're going to do is make a Valentine's Day card. So this is going to be made from scratch. We're not using the Cricut inserts, which is great because then you can use cardstock that you already have. It's also a much cheaper way of making cards. You also don't need to use a card mat. So let's head on over to Design Space and see what projects I found. This was one that I had found that I thought was quite cute. It is an existing project, a Cat Valentine's Day card. So when I'm using existing projects, what I like to do is just check what is being done under each of the panels. Just make sure that everything is done correctly and I'm going to get what I expect when it comes to cutting. So we do have love in white as well as in black. So you can cut this out of cardstock. You can stick them flat on one another. You could put them on a raised foam squares if you like. It really is up to you. If you're going for more of the flat look, you could even cut out this white and black of love in vinyl if you wanted to and put that on the cardstock. So it really depends on what materials you have. If you've got a pretty shimmery white vinyl, you could use that. You could even use iron-on. Yes, you can iron on cardstock. And we have our cats. We've got the white part of the heart at the back. We've got the red part of the heart. We've got the white part of the cats themselves, like as a backing portion. So this definitely lends itself more to like layering with foam squares. We've got the little black part of the eyes, the black part of the kitty cats that we then have cut out and shining through the top white layer of the cats. Then when it comes to our card itself, we have the middle score line and we have the cutouts as well as a red rectangle that we're actually inserting behind everything so that those little hearts on the corners are going to shine through as red based on whatever we use as our backing portion for this insert card. Okay, so this card, because it is being made on a single mat, we don't have the luxury of being able to write on the side, but there is in fact a way around that. So if you would like the Cricut to write inside your card, what you would do is take this card piece and we want to flip it. So now what we're seeing is we're inside the card. This is the back of the front cover of the card, and this is now the inside of the card. We can go ahead and add some text. So we want to make that sure that our text is quite a bit smaller than that. I usually like to, at the first line, get the writing of my text so that when I continue writing my card, I'm not going to get a card with like huge writing or absolutely tiny, unreadable writing. So I try and use this part of my text. I usually write the first line and then I try to make it a little bit smaller so that I'm happy with the text size. So 0.8 is a pretty good size to work with. So once you're happy with your first line, you can just double click on it and continue with your writing. Just make this a bit bigger. Sometimes it auto does it, sometimes it doesn't. Sorry, for some reason it's jumping in and out of recording while I am doing the writing, but I see we are back online. So I'm just going to change this over from regular to writing. You can also choose different fonts and things like that. So I'm just adjusting the area that we're working with, and I'm going to try and align it horizontally. Once I'm happy with that, I'm selecting everything, making sure that all our spelling is correct, and I'm going to align it to center vertically. Once I'm happy with everything here, I'm now going to attach this writing to the card itself. That's going to tell Cricut that on this particular piece, I want this cutout, this scoring line, this writing to all happen on the same actual source, so the same material. In our case, it's going to be the cardstock. Okay, now it looks like we are ready to go with our cut. So this doesn't need to be inverted because we do want that to look like that from the front side. It's only this external card portion that we have inverted, because that way we're able to get this writing onto our cardstock. So it's also important that you just check your writing, that it is on pen. You can also select various pens depending on what pens you have available for your Cricut machine, but just double check that that is on draw and it's not going to try and cut or do anything crazy. Once we're happy with all of our elements, we can go ahead. I'm just going to click on save. And then we can click on make. And for this project being cardstock, you should be using your blue light grip mat. If you have a green mat that is not super sticky, you could use that as well. So just depending on your mat situation as to what mat you would use, but the one you should be using is in fact a blue mat for cardstock. And when looking at our mats, we can try and arrange them as efficiently as possible. So I'm going to try and move these kitties over perhaps here. Don't feel like this heart would fit here. Let's try and move it this way around, see if it would fit. No, it wouldn't fit. So we can keep that as is. In the corner there, we've got our cats, we've got love. Okay, so to try and make sure that we get the most efficient use of our cardstock. Okay, we've got our black. My black piece is a scrap piece of paper, so it is rather short. I'm looking at 18 centimeters max in terms of my piece. So I'm just going to move these eyes over a little bit to under love. Also makes it a bit more efficient in terms of our cardboard usage. And then we have our red piece. Okay, so everything looks good, ready to go. This is going to be the most involved piece because it does have a score, it has a pen function, and it has the cutting, of course. So we go ahead and select our base material. In our case, I'm using American cardstock, which is considered a medium cardstock. And we can load up our black pen and our single scoring wheel in clamp B. If you do not have a scoring wheel, you can also change the tool to a scoring stylus. Okay, but we'll use the scoring wheel as I do have that. Okay, let's go ahead and get our mat ready. So we have our blue mat and our white cardstock. Give it a little brayer. And we head on over to our Cricut machine. Here I need to load up my single scoring wheel. And my black pen. Would help if I open the can. Okay, that's good. We want to hear that click. Then we can go ahead and load our mat. Yeah, the Cricut will check that we do have the correct blade in. So it's just checking for us. And if it is happy, it continues on with your project. And if while you're busy, while it is doing the white cardstock, you can get your red and your black ready so that you are ready to go with the next elements as soon as it is done. You can also ensure that you've got some glue. I use the Tombow glue. It's a multi liquid glue, but you can use whatever suits you. The Cricut is now telling us that if you look on Design Space, it'll say we need to load our fine point blade and press the play button. we go. Just check that it cut through, and we can go ahead and unload. Okay, when removing cardstock, I like to firstly remove my excess bits. But you do generally want to remove your cardstock away from the mat. That just helps to stop it from curling so badly. So we want to try and keep our pieces as flat as possible. Here's our cat elements. So here is our card, and as you can see, this is what we have done by flipping it and being able to write on the inside, and this is where we'll be working on the outside. So it's a little hack to be able to just get the Cricut to write for you as opposed to writing yourself. Although I'm sure some people have absolutely stunning handwriting. But if you're like me and you don't have that type of finesse, then you can actually get the Cricut to write for you in the many beautiful fonts that they have. I'm going to try and keep these kitties. Some of their little pieces you've just got to remove, help along. Not sure if we need the white of the eyes, but I'll just put them aside for now. Cardstock can get so much debris on our mats. Again, the little nose, just helping it along there with the whiskers. I don't think we'll need the eyes, the little white part of the eyes, but I've just kept it aside anyway. And then just get our debris off. I'm just using a scraper. You can use little hearts for other things if you do need them, if you have something creative that you can do with them. So our next board in terms of design space is the black one. So we'll get our black cardstock on and ready. If we look at design space, it's wanting us to select everything again. So if you are just using the same cardstock, you can click here, remember material settings. So you'll see for the red one, it's going to have the base material already set to medium cardstock instead of us doing it again and again each time. And we head on over to our Cricut machine. And we can press play. There we have it. Unload. We're back at our workspace. We can remove our little elements here. And the little kitty eyes. So these dots are the actual pupils of the kitty eye. So we do need to try and keep these little dots safe. And we can go ahead and add the red. If we head on over to Design Space, you'll see that the medium cardstock is already selected. We can load and go. Click the play button. Okay, and we can unload. And we're back to our workspace. Remove our cardstock. This is our little red insert. And so that's going to be stuck at the back here, and you can see all those cute little hearts coming through. Sometimes it's just easier when you've got a lot of small elements of the same color, where you can just cut it through and add that color as a solid block at the back. And then the little heart behind our kitties. And we can go ahead and start working on our assembly. We've now got all our elements ready to go. Okay, so I'm going to start off with putting this red block behind the front here, so that can glue so long, or at least dry so long. Add a bit of glue. You could have even written on the insert portion if you wanted, or had the Cricut draw a little cat, or something like that. So there's multiple different things that you can do with these types of projects. And so now we have the base card ready to go. We've got our message inside, we've got our front cover, and we're going to then be adding all our elements onto that. So I'm going to start off with getting the love put together. So the white cardstock is going to go on top of the black cardstock. Okay, so we're going to add a bit of glue here. This is quite fine elements, so I wouldn't choose to, for the white part of the love, I wouldn't choose to use foam squares, because even if you cut them, they're really, really big compared to how fine this white portion is. I'm just adding a bit of glue. going to sit this onto the black portion. Having the white on the black background gives it some dimension. Okay, so we have that done, and we can let these two elements dry so long. Sometimes better to use a little less glue than more. You don't want spillage or seepage. And we then can take our white heart and we're going to put the red on top of that. Okay, so this is actually a snug fit, and you just have the white peeping through. I mean, you could have not done that white portion. Just putting it directly on the white cardboard would have had the same effect. So it wasn't particularly necessary, unless, again, you're wanting that like 3D effect. If you're wanting to do the 3D effect, you can. So it just adds like an extra dimension to that, and you can also add the 3D squares on there as well. So perhaps we can do that. If you do choose to do that, what I would suggest is to work on the flat part, so that you're not trying to work on an uneven surface with foam squares underneath. Okay, so on top of the heart, we had a few elements. We had a solid white kitty background. We had the black kitties go on top of that, and then we have the white cutouts go on top of that. Okay, so a few elements here for the cats. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick the black part onto the white part first. If you're ever confused as to how the layers go, or you've got pieces and you're like, how do these fit together to make it look like what I saw on Design Space, you can look at the layers on Design Space, and you know, the ones at the back would be at the back of your project, and you can do them in that order of the layers panel. Okay, we can sit our kitties on. Get that to stick together. And then we can stick the white portion of our kitties on the front. Could have definitely gone with a bit of less glue, but it's fine, it will dry clear, thankfully. That's why we choose some of the glues that we do. This goes here, so we can stick that down. I sometimes like to just check where everything goes, where the placement is, before I start going crazy with glue and then realize I've made a mistake. Oops, this kitty's got a whisker. It's like no glue and then lots of glue. Isn't that how it always happens? And we've got a nice border around our kitty cats. And our last tail. And you can also put as many foam squares, or as little foam squares as you like in terms of making your 3D effect. Now we have these tiny little eyes that just need a smidgen of glue. And the eyes kind of went to the left. Okay. Another eye. And this one kind of look this side. And the last little eye. Okay. So that is our kitty cats. If we head on back over to Design Space, we can see, yes, that does look like what we were trying to achieve. And we can just work at putting it all together. Okay, so we've now got all of our elements that we can just use some foam squares to add to the top of our project. And this little, it's not a paw. I would have loved it to be a paw actually. It's just the part of the E for love that is going to fit there. Okay, we can go ahead and grab our foam squares. And we can use these to start sticking our elements onto the card. If need be, you might have to just cut them in half. So I'm just looking on the love. It might be a good idea to cut the foam squares in half. And just strategically place them on the back so you get, at least the coverage at some point along the wording. Let's do one more. You can never have too many, right? Okay, once you've stuck them all down, you just take the sticky backings off. Ooh, that's not helpful. They're not meant to stick to me. Very sticky project. Glue and foam squares. Probably washed my hands like 50 times in this video. And we try and get the E. Now this is going all over the place. My word. Okay, so we've got the E stuck on. We've got a bit of dimension there. So it looks quite cute. And we can go ahead and start with our white heart from our cats. That should be a bit easier. We'll be using holes, foam squares for those. So we don't need to cut them or do any crazy stuff to achieve what we are wanting to at the end of the day. Just depends on how much dimension you are wanting to get from your card. I'm going to put a few in the middle because we do have those cat elements coming. So it just gives them a little bit of support when we get to what's essentially going to be a third layer. Okay, once your foam squares are on, you can just remove the backings. Can be a little bit time consuming. Some people like to use their tweezers or like their weeding tools to just grab the backing. So whatever works the quickest for you. Okay, we've got them all off, and we can go ahead and place this. I'm just going to double check Design Space, so it is probably about here. And that is on. We can go ahead with our red heart now. Same thing, just double check that you've got it the right way. It's going to fit well with your cutout, and then go ahead and put a few more foam squares. They don't have to be perfect or in any particular angle. You can put as many or as few as you like. I suggest as many as you are willing. And then we pull off our little backings. But it's made with love, and that's what matters. I can go ahead and align this on top of our white heart. There we go. And then we can put lastly some foam stickers on our kitty cats. So we definitely have quite a nice layering going on with this card. But like I said, if you don't want the layers, you don't have to use foam squares. You could simply stick the cardstock one on top of the other. Or if you don't have a particular color of cardstock, you could use vinyl instead, or even iron-on. If you are wanting a particular color red and you only have it in vinyl or iron-on, you could cut out the elements in that particular color. Or what you could even do is stick the vinyl to a cardstock, maybe a color that you don't care so much for, or you have a lot of. Stick the vinyl to that cardstock and essentially use that now vinyl covered cardstock as the color cardstock that you're wanting, and cut it out like that. You might need to put a little bit of extra pressure to get through the layer of cardstock and the vinyl. So I would select like a heavy cardstock, and maybe even more pressure if need be, particularly if you've chosen something like a shimmer or a glitter. But do remember that if you need to put something on top, like glue something on top of a glitter or a shimmer type vinyl or iron-on, you will have a bit of trouble because it isn't a flat surface being glitter, and you may have issues in terms of getting something to stick to that. And these kitties go at the bottom of our heart. And there we have it. Our very 3D, as you can see, many layers card for Valentine's, ready to go, personalized, made from scratch, and it is a lovely thought and addition to a little gift or a little hamper or chocolates for Valentine's Day. I hope that you learned something today and that you're going to make some of your own cards for Valentine's or events coming up in your own personal life. Thank you so much for joining us today. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Let us know if you want to see more of this type of content, or if there's something else you'd like to see. Let us know and we'll make a video about it. Thanks for joining us today, and happy crafting.